it. And we're in. Yes. Hey, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to this week's edition of Keep the Mic On.
Woo-hoo.
I am Girl Genius. My week, I'm going to introduce everybody here. My week is usually first week of the month. I do Let's Talk About the Book, where I have a author and I pick their brain about their process, their book, their product. It's going to be beyond books, and it's great. And I will be back next week with a new guest. I believe next week is my week. Yes, that's how we're doing.
Yes, I was like, what week is it, girl? We
I
some
don't
busy
know.
people.
I know that this summer is flying by and we're already
Yes,
like, getting into August, and I'm just like, oh my God, what has
yes,
happened to life? like just a second ago, wasn't it like March?
yes, it was.
Yeah, that
Yeah, last
happened.
week. Last week it was March.
Yeah, last week it was March. Like, whew. Anyway, yeah, so that's what's going on over here. We have Charity Blackwell, who is will be joining us shortly, and her week is art plus therapy.
Yay.
Yes. Charity's awesome and amazing, and she'll be jumping on in a second. Today is that day. Our third our third week host is Simply Sherry, who will also be jumping on in about, I don't know, 2 minutes. She was en route home. We just had her on there. We want to give her a second to put on her little lip and she ain't gonna throw high heels on it. That's,
No.
if it was a real show, she'd be prime for the
Yes,
high heels.
yes. You see her shoes before you see her.
Yeah, true
Yes,
story.
yes.
Like, I got a chance to see her live the other day for the first time in some time, and sure enough, the heels were there.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we'll pretend that she's got on the pretty high heels, for the show, and we'll call it a day. However, I am in fact super excited for this week, and I know I say this every single week. I say this every
But
week.
it's true every
It's
week.
it's absolutely true. This show for the past year and a half has literally been a masterclass in all sorts of things poetry and artistic.
Right. And we
We
didn't even say it.
we
We
ain't even
thought it. Everybody's saying it.
yeah. It's like a scaled down TED talk. It's kind of awesome. But aside from the fact that you get to learn a whole bunch of stuff about you know the life generally speaking, the artist life generally speaking,
Mm-hmm.
you get to pick the brains of some people you you don't normally get to have a conversation with.
Right.
So I am super excited about this week. And so what I'm going to do her intro is I am going to toss it over to this week's host, and let her tell you about her week this week and who she's got on deck for tonight. So I am going to give the mic over to one of my favorite people. Not just my favorite people, my favorite. I have a saying about people poets. I
Yeah.
have my favorite people, I have my favorite poets, and then I have my favorite people poets. So you fall in the category of my favorite people poets.
Yay.
So I am going to give the mic over to KaNikki J.
Thank you so much, Girl Genius, and thank everybody for joining us. I'm just going to say that I am very excited to have Shanelle Gabrielle on. One day I was on somebody else's thread, and although there's a running list of people who would like to be on the show, I was like, I have to get Shanelle on here. We were actually having a conversation on somebody else's comment section. It was like, hey girl, hey boo. And then I inboxed her and was like, yes, would you like to come on our show? And she promptly said yes, because she's cool like that. I was like, girl, yeah, like sure, no problem. So I am very excited to have her. I met her, I'm pretty sure, in Baltimore. Now, as poets, sometimes you have poets in your life for a long time, and then one day you're like, how did we meet? So I'm pretty sure I met her poem first, and then I met her. And so I am so excited to have her on here. And I'm supposed to say that I'm KaNikki Jakarta, the first Black Poet Laureate of Alexandria, Virginia. So this week is called Poets and Platforms, where I like to interview poets who have platforms for the arts, because a lot of the times, as poets, we don't get the platforms that we deserve. I will say that. Or we would get the platforms that people just kind of slide the poet in. So it is good to have people who are artists who also put on platforms for the arts as well, because they know how the poets are supposed to be treated. But she has so many platforms. So she meets these platforms hand over fist, over fist, over fist. So I'm just gonna read her bio, and let me say, and I think I have said this before, when reading one's poet's bio, what happens is as soon as the poet writes them, the resume has expired. So your bio has got bigger and bigger, because today she'll be doing this, and then next week she'll be doing something. So sometimes we don't always get to update these bios. So this is good to have an interview so we can learn what you're doing now, what you've done, how did you do what you've done, and what you have coming up next. So I'm just going to read this bio and we're going to find out what we're missing. So Shanelle Gabrielle is a poet, a singer, lupus warrior, and educator from Brooklyn, New York, who has toured the globe. Widely known for featuring on HBO's Def Poetry Jam, she has shared the stage with artists such as Jill Scott, Nas, Nikki Giovanni, Dave Chappelle, and more. She has featured in a Pandora music campaign for Black Music Month and listed as one of Blavities.com artists, activists you should know, and one of 8 millennial feminist poets that deserve recognition by BET.com. Shanelle is also a health activist who has spoken alongside the president of the National Institute of Health and featured on Lifetime Network about her continued battle with lupus. With over 15 years of work as an educator, school administrator, and non-profit specialist, Shanelle facilitates workshops on anti-racism, cultural responsible practices, and healing arts practices, utilizing poetry and hip-hop as mediums for these conversations. Presently, she is working on her third album while serving as the interim executive director at the Urban Word NYC, which curates poetry and hip-hop programming for youth across the country. Please put yourself together. Put your whole self together while I add her to the screen and welcome my girl and yours, Shanelle Gabrielle.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. You read the whole bio. I was like, oh God.
I did. I had to read the whole thing because that little snippet thing, that works when I'm getting ready to introduce you to go on stage. But in this medium, we get to find out way more about you, and that's what it's about. So I definitely wanted to let people know what was going on. Some of these things I read, I'd be like, oh, that's so good. What's that mean? I have no idea. Like, I don't know what that means at all. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to have you on. Thank you for willing to join us. I hear that you are traveling, but still, you was like, I'm traveling, but I can still do it. I know you just had a birthday. So
a few weeks ago, I'm still here though. It was like the end of June. 27th was my birthday, but
27th.
Cancer season just ended though. Just sad. We're such amazing people, you know.
Yes, you are. So what I am going to do is I am going to remove myself so we can get you to start with a piece. So give it up. Give yourself up for this amazing poet. She's a poet and other stuff. Amazing poet, Shanelle Gabrielle.
Thank you. So my women in work, when you hand them your resume and they want to talk about your makeup, when you get that corner office and they only talk about the length of your skirt, when they prefer to refer to your areas of weakness, ignoring the weight of work you carry each day, when you cross every T and dot every I, but the promotion goes to someone missing an X to their Y, when they set you in high places but try to lower your standards, when you bring your experience to the table and they still think they need to cut your meal for you, when they call you sweetie and dear like your name got lost, when your 4C curls don't meet company guidelines and they seem to prefer your black relaxed, when the task they assign you feels like a puzzle with half the pieces missing. When you break day along with parts of your spirit to finish the job that they only seem to know how to pick apart, when they say you must have cheated, when they cut budgets and corners but not the load, when they don't believe you or in you, and when they call you emotional for having emotion, when they call you dramatic for asking for respect, when they throw compliments your way and you don't want to catch them, when they assume your pretty face means empty head, means welcome mat, means open legs, when you come to them human and they prefer you be object, when you come to them rock and they prefer you be pillow, when you come to them whole and they offer you 76 cents to their dollar, when they almost convince you that everything you do, that your passion and labor is meaningless. It is then that you lift your shoulders with your chin parallel to the same ground your mother, grandmother, queens, ancestors battled on. When you climb and your fists grow bloody from pounding on the glass, feel the dents where the others have chipped. When you realize that with all the world has told you, you've still quaked the earth, planted seeds in dry soil, watered yourself and bloomed. It is then that you push back against the people betting on your complacency. Recognize that women have always been the fuel for every movement, have been the backbone that stood alone and often unknown. It is then you realize you don't have to hold the lies they told. Please let the need for their approval go, because nothing you do for them will make you whole. So just shine. Like you are there for a purpose bigger than yourself. Just shine. Because we women have a tendency to exhale excellence and best believe that everything you touch will parallel your brilliance, my dear. Do not let their labels and limitations destroy the legacy you will leave. That power, that resilience, it's in you. It's in your genealogy. Thank you for allowing me to share that with you all.
Yes, that was so good. I almost forgot to come back. I was like, oh, go back. That's what I am saying. So, did something happen that inspired that piece? Did it happen to you?
So it's me pulling from a lot of different places that I've been, and a lot of, I feel like over the last few years, honestly, since I came to Urban Word was the place. That's where I work now. I'm now the executive director there. I was interim, and now I'm the executive director. But when I first got there, that was like at the time the ED there, as well as the CEO, Michael and Sophia. Those are the people that kind of like affirmed me. And I remember coming to them thinking, I don't know what I'm talking about, because of all the places I came from, that where I'd say something and it was like people wouldn't listen to me. When I worked at a school and so much staff left, and it just kept piling on my plate, and I kept feeling like I was failing, and I kept getting told I was failing, and it was just like, after a while, you're like, is something wrong with me? Like, am I bad? Do I not know what I'm doing? And that happens a lot. And started realizing that happens a lot in a lot of spaces that are meant to serve, students, young people, sometimes nonprofits, like a lot of spaces do that. Corporate America frequently ignores the voices of women. So a friend of mine, I started kind of writing it, and then a friend of mine asked me to perform at an event, and she called me out of nowhere, and I somebody I didn't really know that well. I want to say a colleague, and she was just telling me what she was going through. Like I was just, it was a therapy session. I didn't expect it. It was like, I feel like I'm doing something, and it's just like they don't recognize what I'm doing. And I said, yo, at some point in time, we got to stop looking for their recognition, because it's bigger than them. We care about this work. It's like the purpose is the thing, and of course I struggle with that, but I struggle with that always, just wanting to like make sure people see the work I'm doing and validate it. But I realize that at the end of the day, I'm here for a reason. God put me in the places I'm in to be where I am, and forget them. Like I'm here for a reason, and I'm complaining about things when there were places women couldn't even walk into the room, So all of that kind of tried to channel that into that poem. And I gave it to her for the show she booked me for. She was like, Shanelle, I need you to do it. I was going to book another artist. She was like, no, I need you to do this. Wow. Can you write something that talks about that? Kind of almost like a little slap to the face of the people. Right. They're like, I'm talking about y'all, but because it was like a job. But, it's just want to recognize all the women that what we go through.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's so funny because I just saw that. I'm going to have to Dang, I'm gonna have to. I don't know if she's watching or not, but somebody who's just made a post about this. So a young lady that I met during this quarantine time. She actually lives about an hour from me, but I never met her in person. I met her online, and so she has been joining us for Keep the Mic on. Her name's Catrice, and she had one day somebody was she sent me. I was actually on Keep the Mic On, and she sent me a message and said, "Hey, so somebody was telling me to to meet you and whatever." And I was like, "I'm doing a show right now. You want to get on it?" And that's when we were doing it on Zoom. And she got on. So then like we've been, like during this time we've been doing this. So I'm gonna definitely tag her so she can hear that poem, because it'll be definitely on the playback. So we're gonna have to keep that going.
Thank
so
you.
That was amazing. And I think, sometimes, of course I have to ask all the questions. And this is the thing, being an artist, you get asked those same, when you get interviewed, right? You get asked those same interview questions, like, who inspired you to write? How long have you been writing? These questions that people ask. But I realize, even though I'm answering the same question over and over, some people don't know who I am, and they need to know the answer to these questions that I keep having to answer over and over, those generic questions. So I always have to ask the generic questions as well. But I did want to ask, what were you before you were a poet? What were you?
I did everything. Before I was a poet, I see it's a fun thing. I became a poet. I graduated in college and was like, I'm gonna be a poet. So a lot of people go, oh, I'm going to work and then I pursue my dreams. I kind of did that already. Wow. Like I graduated and I was my goal was to get in communication arts. I wanted to be a singer. That was really a big part of it. But I saw the gatekeepers, huh?
Because you can sing.
Oh yeah, I'm a singer. Yeah. I started out in choirs, singing all three parts, soprano, alto, tenor, helping my sister teach the choir. I was, as far as I knew, I was going to be a singer, but I started trying to be around and in the industry very young. And that was one of the challenging things was that whole, I always say #MeToo was not a thing back then. This was just what you knew the industry to be. And praise God, I was a young woman that had my wits about me. I was very Brooklyn, and there were a lot of situations where it was just getting tiring. Like, I'm here to sing, and why I'm here to sing, I'm literally telling dudes I'm not legal. I just came to sing. Like, why are you trying to take me out on a date? Like, watching all of those things there. So for me, it was just, I was so tired of the music industry. I was like, I don't feel, I heard I was cute, but not cute enough. I don't have the look, which, in the spaces I was in, I was able to see what the look was. And it was like, wow. Half black, half Puerto Rican, half Blasian. You have to be Blasian, or, you have to be walking around with barely nothing on. Like, those are all the things that were around me. And because I didn't see that reflected in the industry the way we kind of do now, you see a her, you see a,
right.
It was just like, I got tired of it. And then poetry, I discovered poetry mad late. It's crazy because I lived in New York and it was very much a mecca of poetry in a lot of ways, with the New York Poets Cafe. And I discovered it my junior year. And I was like, oh, forget y'all, I'm about to do this poetry thing. And of course, my parents were like, why? But it's just, I took other jobs. I work at a bank to pay for my first album to be recorded. What did I do? I worked retail. I worked at a youth program, an after school program, and eventually was like, I started touring, and that poetry happened. And
I'm glad you brought that up, because I just love. I think I was talking to Sekou. I was interviewing Sekou, and he said something and was like, and then I got this contract with Nike or something. I was like, no, stop. How did this happen? All poets want to know. So he was like, then I got on different. How did this happen? How did that happen?
That was God. That was God. I asked everything I asked him for. I got everything I said, and I always forget how powerful the tongue is. And when I finally figured out, like, that's what I wanted, I was like, no, I really think that I could make a career in poetry. I said, you know, I literally had my little outline. You know what, God, it'd be so dope if I was on the New Eureka Poets Cafe Slam team. It happened. You know, then I was like, yo, you know, it'd be so dope if I had a book of poetry. I had a chat book. Now that chat book is not available. If you have it, you have it. If you don't, you never get it. But you know how poets are about that first chat book. Like, don't ever. But and then it was like this happened, and then I was like, yo, it'd be so dope if I could get on Def Poetry Jam. And this gentleman that was my friend on MySpace. I'm dating myself.
MySpace, okay.
MySpace, and he sent me like a link that was like a thing was like, yo, mail your audition tape here. Didn't know him that well. We just chatted on MySpace, like never talked on the phone. He was from I think it was Bermuda. I can't remember. He was from like another country.
Just like a fan.
He was just like, I like what you're doing. And I was posting it on it, you know, on there. I think no, I'm lying. He came to the New Eurekan once, but this is years after. But at the time I'd never met him. He was just like cool. And he sent me the address to send my audition tape. And the first one I sent didn't get a response. And then I wrote this other poem for nationals, for the National Poetry Slam. And it got such good reviews. I said, let me send another tape with that poem in it. And that's when I got a call back. And that's the poem that they ended up choosing for Def Poetry Jam.
Wow.
So that's how it happened.
Amazing. See, you never know who's watching. I always say that. You never know who's watching, who's looking, and they have belief in you. Because sometimes, you know how your family, it's so weird because, you know, and I always tell people this, like, if you're like, I help people publish their books and stuff. I was like, if you're waiting for your family to support your work, you might have a few cousins and things, you know what I mean? But you almost have to make it for them to be like, that's my cousin, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? If you wait for them to buy some books, they want their books for free. So sometimes the support of the outside, like this is why I say you never know who's watching. So always be on your A game. It could be two people in the room. You never know.
I've had so many. You are so true about that. I've had so many times where it was some little, I remember there was this gig. It was in this basement, like venue. And they booked me with a band. And I'm performing my band. I made a big deal out of it, got there, and they did not promote it at all. It was just like the 4 people that came for me and like 3 people by the bar. So there was one MC that came in. He walked in with his entourage, was like, oh, no, ain't nobody in here, and left and did not perform. And I'm like, well, my band is here. Let's rock. And I don't believe in disrespecting my work by not performing it well, no matter who or how many people are there. I feel like it's disrespectful for me to have to do anything. So I gave a full-on performance for them 5 people. My sister, whose house I'm in, she was there with her, you know, she was there with a significant other at the time. And there was one lady there that said, hey, you killed that. And it's like nobody here. She said, like, literally, it was like, yeah, ain't nobody here. And you still did like a good show. Hey, can I book you for this gig for Viacom for a holiday party? I was like, yo, and so often we like miss a blessing because we don't appreciate the 1 or the 2, or we looking for the crowd, or we looking for all the love. And sometimes people don't see it right away. And that's how I chalk it up. I can do back then y'all didn't want me. I can't get into that.
Right.
It's like, oh, okay, you didn't know. You didn't know it was dope. That's great.
I like that attitude. That you didn't know, and now you do. I like that. I like it. Lovely. You don't know. Okay, yep. You see, words of wisdom. So, do you write your own song?
Yes. It's so funny. I'm actually working on something that's commissioned, and they hired a songwriter, and I was like, "Excuse me, that's disrespect." I write. I'm like, okay. I'll let you write, but I have to write like a verse. Okay, like it's just so hard for me because that was also, I do have some chips from the music industry. One was I get off stage, people like, wow, did you write that? And I'm like, you ain't asked that dude that got off the stage if he wrote that. I've always, before I knew what a feminist was, I'm talking about in grade school, I always knew like, you don't do this with boys. Why are you doing this with me? And, you know, that was my chip on my shoulder. And so, no, I write all my own music. I mean, I've had people collaborate with me. Like, I'm like, this is what I want. And they're like, oh, this would be dope to switch around. Definitely, I've had people help with arrangements and backgrounds. Like, if you look on especially my second project, actually both projects, my first and second projects, those like the producers I worked with are all people that were super supportive. I had my friend Chris Belmont over at Ja Rockin' Productions, and he's an amazing singer as well. Chris Theory, but he's based out of Atlanta. We did like 3 of my favorite tracks on that second album together, and he's just like, he's straight church, so it was perfect. It was like, okay, and I don't play any instruments, so I'm usually like, this piano goes like, so that's how it usually comes out. But yeah, I've written everything, all my own things.
That's amazing. Okay, so when you write poetry and you write songs, like, how does that writing differ?
A lot of my songs started as poems. A lot of them start as poems, and then there's one song I have a music video for. If you go on my website, under videos, you'll see it. It's called Damn Near. I was in a situationship with this guy and he pissed me off. And I woke up at like 3 a.m. and just wrote feverishly, like, and then I was supposed to record a whole other song with that producer. And I was like, no, we're recording this today. Like, and it was a poem. And I was like, okay, let's make it like this. And it takes a different muscle. So sometimes it doesn't always come the same way. I frequently battle moments where I'm like, is this a poem or a song or a rap? I don't know what to do. So given the curse of doing everything is like, then you end up being like, I don't know what to write. So.
That's amazing, because, I can't sing not anything, like no words, sing no words. I can't do it, but
I'm sure you can do a little something. You can do a little Mary Had a Little Lamb and be all right,
I can sing when no one's listening. And that is why I'm a poet. That is why I speak words. I speak words in rhythm.
You know your strengths.
No, I don't. So, as far as writing is concerned, I always say, writing can be therapeutic, but not therapy.
That's a word.
Yes. So, do you consider like your writing? I know it's not. I ask people, is it a hobby for you? But I know this is what you do, so this is definitely not a hobby. But are you finding like spiritual practices in writing?
Oh yeah. So during COVID, and I'll say it was COVID really that was probably the most grounded I've been in such a long time. During COVID, a lot of the work that I did, like I started journaling, and then from the journaling, write a poem. And that was like a good practice for me to just kind of process what was going on and what I was feeling and my thoughts around things. So definitely seeing that as a healing way, the way that poetry can be a part of the healing process. It is not the only thing, because I definitely have a therapist, and I definitely wrote a poem. Hey, shout out to therapist.
Yes.
I definitely have a therapist, and I remember I wrote a poem about something that he said in.
So you have a male therapist?
A male therapist, yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Listen. Let's circle. I don't want to cut you off, but let's circle back to that.
Sure, of course. Yeah. But yeah, I asked him, he said something in a session and it made me write a whole poem. And the poem literally starts, my therapist said.
Wow.
I told him, I was like, I wrote a poem about you. I do actually need to text it to him so he can see. He'll probably be very honored, like, oh my God, I got a shout out.
Now, how did you find this therapist? Was he recommended, or you just?
He was recommended. I had a previous therapist. I've had 3 therapists in my lifetime. One right after my mom passed away. I preemptively got one. Like, I don't know what it would be like when I stopped buzzing and planning and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I had one there, and she was great. I had to switch from her because I switched to insurance. And then I think she left the practice in New York as well. So it wasn't even, she would have been gone anyway. But much love to her. Then I had another woman. She wasn't the most, that ended up just being a space for me. Like that was more I just needed a space to vent, a space to talk about everything I was feeling. And that was helpful to me then. And then COVID hit, and I hadn't heard from her. So I'm sorry, my thing was dying. I hadn't heard from her, and so I was just like, oh, okay, I guess she's gone. And but I needed somebody, and I picked this gentleman, and like, so he came recommended, and it's an old Black man, and it's great. Like, a lot of it has been me stripping away at a lot of things that I'd never really, and no one ever talked to me about stripping away. Like, why do you do the things you do? A little bit more in depth than previously. And a lot of things that I never unearthed. Like, oh, that comes from that. Oh, it's okay to not be okay.
Right.
What's that? You know, why am I always busy? What am I distracting myself from? Like, those are the things that he was doing. I was like, there's times I just be like wanting to throw the phone away. Like, we do all the time. It's like,
yeah. But I definitely wanted to talk a little bit about that because, you know, Black people don't like to go to therapy. They have a stigma around it. They don't want to do it. I don't know why, but they don't. And it's so funny. I've always been an advocate for therapy, right? But I was like, but I don't need it. I'm cool. You go. You do it.
You should do therapy. I'm perfectly fine. I'm perfectly fine.
Yes, you should.
So it's like a really good situation. I mean, at the end of the day, when you think about how everything goes, you know, how complex life can be, and how a lot of times our friends, as much as they want to help, they actually, we don't listen to our friends. They're too close to the project sometimes. Like, you know, there are times where like my friends will tell me something the therapist said, and I'm like, I definitely said that too. But it's like, it's one of those things where I'm like, it's not about me, it's about that person's healing. I don't need to be right. I don't need, like, she needed to hear it from somebody else. And that's fine. And that's like not, you know, I think some, you know, and it's helpful. And yeah, I don't always want to tell my friend everything. They don't always know what to say. It's like, damn, girl.
They don't. Yeah, and that's it. And that's it.
You know, or even to figure out how to, like, because you also don't want to be like, so where do you think the source of that is? You know, sometimes your friends don't want to do all of that either. They don't
want to do that with you. Yeah.
So it's helpful. And I mean, I do think that, yeah, there's a lot of people using poetry as therapy, and it's not. People doing poems and they crying on stage every time they do the poem. Like, no, that's not healing. That's opening up a wound that you're not healed from.
Every time. Yeah, exactly. I have been the one I've been crying on stage. I would not cry when I do this, but now I have done poems now where I don't even, you know how you're doing the poem and you're just not connected to it. I'm not connected to that. Like, I'm saying the words, but I don't feel the feeling anymore. I'm not tapping back into that. So, yeah.
And that's the healing. That's the healing. Like, you have to, I don't believe in I always say that's not another thing. People, and that's what people thought. I'm a big advocate. I love slam. I had so much fun in slam. I made so many good friends in slam, winning and losing. You know, I never, like, you want to win, but I never cared. It's like playing a basketball game to me. I've never been that competitive. But I think that's where slam went wrong, where people started using slam as therapy, and then they started they're like, I did a poem about my rapist, and you gave me a 7. You know, it's like,
right. You're taking it personally. Yeah.
Why are you doing something like? Why are you bleeding on stage? That's why I call it bleeding on stage. Why are you bleeding on stage for a score? Like, don't. Like, you can't get through the poem without feeling exactly what you felt, like, in the depths of your soul. I ain't bringing that up there. I have poems I would never perform in front of people.
Yeah. I don't do that poem anymore because I'm a poet who got through that. So that poem, if you don't have our chat book, you're not gonna never get it. Okay. She said that chat book does not exist. So do you have any product right now? Like, I know your resume said you're working on the album. Is that still true, or is it finished?
Yeah, I'm right now. I'm just writing. I work better in blocks. So right now I'm kind of just I'm wrapping up grad school. So
congratulations! Come on, grad school.
I know I just need to get out. I'm wrapping up grad school, doing my master's at Teachers College at Columbia University. Doing a master's in education and ed leadership over there. So once I'm done, then my goal is to block out a week of evenings and just be in the studio and record it. That's how the second album got done. That's almost how the first album got done. I just work better when it's like this is all I'm focusing on.
Yeah,
I'm going to record it. So that'll happen in August. I'm actually going to put together a book. Before that's probably, or simultaneous. I'm still figuring out the book. I do know I need to put the words out. I'm used to audio because I'm a singer, but I do feel like it's crazy that I have never put the words to paper. I don't have a chapbook or a published book or anything. So
yeah, you need that because it's different to be read.
Yeah, it's like there's stuff there that people don't hear.
Yeah,
so
they don't hear it. So it is great to be read. So yeah, let us know when that book comes out because
Yeah. But for now, they can still catch the last 2 albums. It's all on.
They get the last 2 albums.
Yep, they're all on all the platforms. Spotify. I don't really love Spotify. Tidal, iTunes, Apple. Just check it out. Feel free to share. At this point, I don't, spins don't give you no money, so I really don't care. I just want to know people heard it and feel something from it.
Yes. How beautiful is that? See, that's why we love you. Okay, so do you have a greatest fear?
The first thing that came to mind is my greatest fear. Greatest fear is that you're not inadequate. The greatest fear is that you are powerful beyond measure. Belief, or however that quote goes. My fear is that I didn't use every gift that God gave me. That is really a fear. That's part of why I keep busy. I think I look at it like if I can do it, I should do it. And that's to my detriment sometimes. But
well, you don't have to fear that. You're doing it all.
I kind of got to slow it down because, but it's something that I just want to make sure, the things that I'm my biggest regrets outside of not doing a study abroad in college, which is one of my biggest regrets. I don't have many. It's just anybody. I don't want anyone to ever say that they came in contact with me and was not moved positively. And so I look at that all connected to everything as a part of my purpose. I don't know how to not be friendly, or I think I'm a very loving person. And I think that that's a big part of it, is just always wanting better for others. And so I feel like I fear not being that for other people, not being the support that I would want for other people.
What do you most value in your friends?
What do I most value in my friends?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of my friends. I value their empathy, just being able to kind of always be, and my friends, each of them play a different role in my life. And I think that that's something that also is very important when we think about friendships. A lot of time we think of friendships as this one stagnant thing, and friendships move and grow and people play different roles. But I think of my closest friends is that I can tell them anything and I don't feel like they'll ever judge me. I feel like, they want what's best for me. The same thing, I want what's best for them. They want what's best for me. I think that that's something that is a requirement for a friend. Because there are people that we call friends out there that's just jealous.
Yeah.
And I think that those are the things for me. And of course, just, good people, just people that want, they have goals and visions too. My friends inspire me. All of my, we're who inspires you? They're all my friends.
Yeah. All your friends.
All my friends, I'm blessed that my friends are doing amazing things and they motivate me to do. I'm like, oh dang, I gotta get myself together. Look, my friends is popping. I can't be the friend that ain't popping.
I gotta be popping with my friends.
I gotta pop. We all gotta pop together. So
lovely. Yeah. So we don't think about, a lot of times, when you're doing interviews and what you're seeing is when you're on stage, you're seeing the I'm trying to give a word to it. You're seeing the encouragement, the motivation from the friends that you're talking to. You know what I'm saying? You're seeing that. When you go, if I have an idea, I start working on it right then, right? And then in the middle, I'll be like, do I really want to? Yes, you had said you was gonna do that, right? So you're seeing the manifestation of all that encouragement from your friends when you're, when you're on stage, and some people don't get that. And, that's why I wanted to ask you that question, because, you don't always get to shout out your friends and what they mean to you.
Yes,
so yeah.
Yes. I would name friends, but I feel like somebody
don't name
like, why you gonna call me? But y'all know who you are. I'm usually reposting my friends, like the things that everyone's doing, the impact they're making. Just there, sometimes it's not even that they're doing like, oh, I'm I'm touring or anything. It's just the impact that the fact that they are living what they wanted to live, a life that they chose and that they want to live, in their purpose, and that means a lot to me, to have people that are just that committed to like what their purpose is or what they feel is their passion, So I like one friend that's an author, well, a couple friends that are authors, another friend that works in production, and she loves it. And that's like her passion. That's her thing, and it's just, I always think about that. It's just so important. What is your purpose? And I believe in having purpose. And also my friends are my mirrors. I'll see things in them that I don't always see in myself. Or I'll see things that I do, and I might want to correct them, like, girl, you need to stop. And I'll be like, ooh, I do the same thing. Or they'll be like, Shanelle, you kind of remember when you said X, Y, Z, and I'm like, I did, didn't I? Like, like you said, you mentioned that, like your friends be like, hold up.
Exactly.
But still knowing that it's never any love lost or any like judgment. So
I love the no judgment. That's to be able to be yourself is sometimes difficult without the fear of being judged.
Oh, that's where a lot of artists go wrong. They don't have anybody that's able to be like, hold up, that ain't you.
Exactly. Exactly. So do you have a motto? You like
a motto? My motto is, I feel like my motto is, do to others as you would have them do to you. Like that's something I've always tried to live by. Like a lot of times, even once I get to my gift and the curse, because I'll be like, well, you know what, this person's trifling, but I would want people to give me the benefit of the doubt. And it's like, no, that person's trifling. Like that's who they are.
That's really who they are.
But I really try to live by that. Like, treat people the way you want to be treated. And sometimes I fail, sometimes I fall, but it's always, I always want, like I said, I want the best for people, and because I want people to want the best for me. I feel like, so that's what I'd say the motto is.
Good, very simple and very true. Yeah. What do you consider your greatest achievement?
That is such a hard question.
I know,
because it means different things at different times.
And the reason I ask this is because a lot of times, especially people who are busy like you, a lot of times we don't, we're looking at a things to do list, right? We're looking at that things to do list. Okay, come on, we're looking at the things to do list, and we're not looking at the list of things that we've already done. So we don't look at the things that we have achieved. So, sometimes I'm making you think about it, because I can talk about all the things that you have done, you know what I'm saying? Not the titles that you have held, but all the achievements that I feel that you made. But it's good to reflect on that, right? So you shouldn't just have just one, but I'm just asking you just for something. You know what I'm saying? So you can think about what have I done? What have I achieved? What am I proud of?
I mean, I've done so many things, and the things that people get hyped about. Well, okay. The Pandora thing was pretty dope. Pandora, a friend of mine came up with this idea for something to do for Black Music Month with Pandora. And he said, can you write a poem about Black music and talk about like all types of Black music? And so I wrote it, and it was one of those, let's see what happens. They'll do it. And they were all backing it. And I'm just, I never think about the finished product. I'm like, I got to get this done. And then it's done. And who knows where it ends up? Like even Deaf Poetry, I filmed Deaf Poetry, didn't tell anybody, because I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. They could cut me out the show. And then I'll be like, everybody, I'm on Deaf Poetry. And then I'm not there. I think like that. It's probably not great, but I think like that. And that spot was really good. But what was crazy about it was it really ended up on the biggest Jumbotron in Times Square. And being a person from New York, that does mean a whole lot. Like, what? Wow. I thought it was going to be a little screen. When they said, I was like, it's going to be on this little screen. And then it was like, and it was that was definitely a great moment, just as a native New Yorker. Other than that, the thing that I'm most proud of is not like the celebrity based. It's not the things that most people are usually proud of. It's just that I was able to do it full time for 8 years. Like I was,
I applaud that. I applaud that because
8 years.
Yeah,
I was like in these streets, you know.
Yeah.
I missed like what I did, like 47 of the 50 states. You know, I did at that time. I did at North. I did Nigeria. I did South Africa. You know, like all of that. Like those were the things that I'm like, wow, I really lived that life. I'm proud of that. You know, definitely had to step out of it for multiple reasons, but I like where I am now, where I do my art because I love it and not because it has to pay my rent. And that's just me. I have friends that are like, yo, I'm gonna do the struggle thing. I'm like,
yeah.
I do have a chronic illness, and I do have needs for that.
Yeah.
And
Sherry, she joined us a little bit late, so she wasn't on the co-host on here. We talk about that all the time, especially during the pandemic. Having a 9-to-5 and having that insurance was, you know, a blessing during that time. And so I know I have a heart condition, so definitely, you know, some insurance to be happening. So I get it. I definitely get that. So yeah. I'm saying if you can, you know, do the two things, because I always say, you know, people don't know that I have a 9-to-5. I was like, I have a 9-to-5 and I actually love it. But yeah, so I do. They say, do you do poetry full time? Yes, I still do poetry full time, and I also
work full time.
Yeah. and like we say in the South, we do both of them.
All both of them. I love it. I love it.
Do you have a word or a phrase that you tend to overuse?
Bruh. So, yo, bruh. I would call a woman bruh. Like, bruh is not even gendered anymore. It's not. Like, you know, I should be like, bruh,
what is happening? What is happening?
Nah, bro. Like everything, it's a period. It's a question mark. It's an exclamation mark. I say that a lot.
That is hilarious.
Bro, what is good? What is going on?
Hilarious. Okay, and you knew what it was. You know, usually people be like, what is my phrase or word? You knew right off. You.
It flows right off my tongue too. It's like, bro. Like.
Okay, so do you think that the internet and social media contributes to the well-being of poetry?
Gift, curse. I'll say it like this. So one of the things that I think pre-social media that was good was that in order to do poetry, really, you had to really commit to it, like the community. Like you had to like be a part of your local community. You had to like, I don't want to say pay your dues because it always sounds like hazing. And I'm like, it's not even that. It's just like, yo, you want this community to feed you. You feed the community, and whatever that looks like. That might be at an open mic and supporting people, and they support you. You know, it was something like that. And also that became a resource, like your community was a resource for you. So where social media kind of messed things up was it, in my head, it was kind of a way for people not to have to do that. Like be a part of the community. It's like I can be famous because I put this one poem and I've never ever met another poet in my life. And I think I'm the best thing since sliced bread. So I don't grow, you know, as a writer. I don't get that kind of like cultivation of my craft as a performer. You know, there's a lot of poets I've met that were like, oh, I do this. And then you see them and you're like, oh, I see you haven't been in certain circles because your performance, you know, is missing some things. Right. And not saying that everybody has to perform the same way, but it's just, there's like always that little, I can tell that it's not polished. Right. But you've been in a hole and, you know, maybe you performed at your church all the time and that's amazing. Yeah. But and also I think it hurt the college circuit, and that was something that was very much a lot of poets.
Good point.
People were coming in not knowing what to charge. Like you was famous on Instagram, so somebody comes to you with like $500. You like, yeah. Poetry. You don't know that the market price is $1,500,
right?
Like $1,200.
Right.
You know, that's a part of being in the community, being able to say, so how much should we be charging? You know, how much? And then, you know, it also commodified it and made it more reliant on numbers, on likes, on other things. However, it also helped expand like a lot of people's knowledge about the art and the craft. Like that's the other side of it. It's like the exposure side of it, you know, to see something go viral, to see something really quality, to see, you know, really good work get like the love, the national, international love that it deserves. That's still a beautiful thing. So things like say gift and curse. There's
Gifts and curse.
Yeah. You know.
Okay. So let's talk about your platform, right? So because you have several, okay? So I'll be like, you know, different, you know, got a lot of things. So let's start with the workshops. What kind of workshops do you teach?
So I have multiple workshops I teach. I mean, outside of, I do basic poetry workshops. That's how I started at where I am now as a teaching artist, just in general for myself as well as for Urban Word NYC. But I do a lot of work around equity training. So a lot of it is education based because I'm so passionate about, I used to always love direct service. Like I've taught. And spent a lot of time in classrooms, both DOE charter as well as non-traditional spaces like, you know, nonprofit orgs. And but I started getting more passionate about the adults. Like I can touch this group of kids, but you're seeing more than just those group of kids. You're seeing like new set of kids every year. And started recognizing a lot of the ways that we show up as adults in youth spaces and what we bring, like the stuff that we bring on ourselves from our identities, from our backgrounds. I'm very passionate about like Black people and internalized racism, Black people and internalized sexism. Like these are all things that within us, like we talk about the white folk, I talk to them too, but I'm very passionate about us, like us being as reflections that the young people see. What does it mean when the Black teacher is telling a young woman that she, you know, deserves to get the negative attention she got from boys because of what she's wearing? You know, what is, and that's respectability politics. That's us. You know, like what does that say? What are you saying exactly? And being, so a lot of the work I do is around like, you know, diversity is around, I hate using these buzzwords, but like a lot of it is around self-identity and breaking that down and seeing that how our positionality in spaces shows up, how the isms and obias show up in our language in a space, how, you know, we normalize like, you know, a lot of things. There's a lot of things that education normalizes. I am the adult, you are the children. And it's like, yo, kids teach me all the time. And it's important for them to have spaces to teach me while I'm teaching them.
Yes.
So that's a lot of the work that I get to do both through Urban Word and as well as on my own independently.
That's amazing. That is amazing. So, what was I going to say? Oh, I mean, I was listening to what you said. I mean, we want these quotables. So yes, let the children teach us to know that they are people as well. And they can really, you know, they can teach us things. So yeah, it's not just about being older. It's some things that you are wise in and some things that you are not. So yeah, I got stuck on that. So yeah. So sometimes I'll be listening so hard, I'll be forgetting I'm supposed to be asking questions. Okay. So when were you diagnosed with lupus?
So I was diagnosed in 2004. That was prior to my junior year of college. Okay. I was diagnosed with lupus after a year of having symptoms and not knowing that they were all connected and that they were all this disease. So it started with some headaches. It started with a lot of different things and joint pain and things that I was able to shrug off that I thought were just, oh, it's this thing, or I'm just tired. And it wasn't until I lost my hair that I was like, oh, this might be a thing. Let me go to the doctor. And yeah, you know, I had, you know, was kind of misguided. I don't say misdiagnosed, but misguided when I did present some of the symptoms, you know. So with that, I was diagnosed then and had to kind of figure it out. I ended up getting really sick during the winter break in 2004. Almost didn't go back to school, but well, at least my stepmom was like, you need to stay here. And I was like, I need to get away from here. Back to school. figure it out. And I always say that nobody knew. I think only one person, my friend Valencia, like I told her, like, there are times I remember confessing. I was like, there's sometimes that no one knows that I'm in so much pain. And like it I always say there's a couple years after you get diagnosed where your body's like figuring out how to live with this thing, and the medication's kind of like but for me it just ended up being a reset button for me. It's part of why I became a poet. Why I did.
So you already had this diagnosis when you became a poet.
Yeah, I got it. I already started kind of writing a little bit, but I think I've told this. This might be one of those stories I've told quite often. Just this part, just because I had gotten sick. I was in the hospital, and it hit me like, yo, you got this chronic illness that you was trying to pretend you ain't had, and thought you was just gonna drink juices and berries and get rid of it. I had this thought like, yo, what if I'm stuck in a hospital like forever? Like, what am I doing with my life? Like, that makes me being in the hospital feel okay. Like, what have I done? What have I not done? What do I need to be doing? And that was when I started being like, yo, this poetry thing might just be where I feel like I need to be. Because it just felt like everything was lining it up. And, so I do say that I probably wouldn't be a poet if it wasn't for that. That gave me that I was the most fearless in my life in years. I was like, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to hustle somewhere. I'm going to pay this rent.
What made you want to make this a part of your poetry platform? Did you feel like I just had to tell it, or?
I kept it a secret. I didn't write. I have a poem called Vanity that literally documents my diagnosis. The first poem I wrote for lupus was in that chat book, and that jump was depressing because that's where I was. It was literally like, I can't remember what the first line was. I take these pills to stay alive. Like, it was so, I went from never, like, I'd go for a checkup. That's all. Never broke a bone, never had a stitch, never had a cast. Nothing, to all of a sudden, like, they were giving me all this medication and telling me I can't do this and I shouldn't do this. And I was just like, it was blowing my mind. And then finally I was just like, yo, listen, I have to, yeah, it was just crazy how everything was going on at the same time. And for me, having a chronic illness, having lupus really made me have to zero in on the things I was passionate about and things that because I had like limited energy. So it's like, what am I going to do? And I didn't want to talk about it because I didn't want people to treat me differently. I didn't want people, and if the few people, I remember people telling me, and I told a couple people, and they'd be like, Shanelle, it's 11 o'clock. Shouldn't you be home and getting rest? And I'm like, see, this is why I don't want to tell nobody.
And see, that's why, and that's exactly why I asked that question, because a lot of times, they say you say you suffer in silence, and for someone who has put, lupus on their platform, I'm like, do you really like do it? Is it a time that you really don't? I don't want to talk about this. I feel fine. I'm well. I do not want to talk about lupus. I just want to do these poems about some love, sing these songs about some happy, and go home. I don't want to talk about that.
Well, I mean, but it ended up happening is that in the hospital bed, when I had that revelation, I started writing that poem about my diagnosis. Didn't plan on sharing it. And I featured, it was at the New York, I was featuring. And that poem is, it's an old poem, but I always say, I'm like, it's my origin story. There's nothing I can do. It's going to be that poem. I could try to rewrite another lupus poem, but I'd be duplicating the thing that is the most true to where I was at that time. But I wrote it and I was just like, okay, the feature said, I guess I need to share something new, for a feature. And I was like, I guess I'll do this lupus poem. Did the poem, read the poem. And afterwards, at least 6 people came up to me like, I have lupus. My mom had lupus and passed away. I have lupus and I just got diagnosed. And you just don't realize how the work that you create, you're like, this is just a poem that I'm just throwing into the universe, and you don't realize what's going to come back to you, and it's just, and I after that, I was like, I feel like now I have a right to, and there are times I did that poem at University, Central Florida. I used to perform like every year for the orientation. And I remember doing that poem, and this girl came up to me and said, My mom had lupus and she died. I think I have it, but I'm scared to go to the doctor. And she's like, nobody knows that I'm having these symptoms because I don't want them to know. And yo, like, what? How could I sit here and say I'm not going to talk about this? How am I not going to be an example of like what life with lupus could look like? You know, it doesn't have to be a death sentence. It just changes things. You know, that's all. It's hard because you know I got part of why I got off the road was I got sick on the road, and the fact that I got sick and was in the hospital, and all I could think about was I need to get out of here because I have a show to pay my rent, and I have to do the show so I can pay my rent. That was when it changed for me. When I finally processed that, like, I was really bad. I almost died. I had 2 blood clots in my lungs from the flight over. And I ignored them for 3 days, like the pain. And it got worse and worse. And I finally couldn't breathe. And the doctor was like, you were walking around. I said, well, I got the show tomorrow. So can you just get me well for this show?
Oh my God.
They were like, you might have to stay here. We have to get these levels down. And that's another part of the lupus that I have. And, you know, but it changes your world. And but it changes it. And it doesn't mean it's over. My world has just changed. And what does that look like? That changes for everyone. So how can I not talk about it? How can I be so selfish? To me, I'm in a place where, you know, it's up and down, where some days I'm like, what the hell? What else is wrong? Right. But in the same breath, it's like, man, somebody else out there needs it. And
right. Yes. I applaud you for doing that because, child, when I feel well, I don't be trying to be talking about that stuff. I'm just trying to, that's why I said, and I was really talking about myself. Like, can I just talk about this love? And yes, gotta do these poems about this love. I feel good today. I can breathe. I can walk, and I'm good. I'm good. I'm walking around. You have breath.
I mean, but the other thing about it is I didn't write it from the place of pain. Like a lot of times, and this is something also to speak to the work that I usually do. A lot of times, the work that I write are in color and things I'm writing to myself. Like a lot of times, that's what I'm doing. Like, what do I need to remember? What do I need to, like that poem about women, like don't forget your purpose. That's, I'm saying it to y'all, but I was saying it to me. You know, the poem I have called Aim High. Yeah, that's a cool poem. No, I was really trying to encourage myself. Like these are the things that like I need to hear. And so even in my writing, I can write from a place of like, this is messed up. But that doesn't, for me, that's never been helpful to me. Sometimes I have those in my notebook, in my journal. But the things that I present, it's like, okay, I'm going to share this thing that I have to tell myself and remind myself. I'm going to tell y'all. And that's kind of how it ends up happening.
That's amazing. And then when you find out, and it's so funny, like when you find out, when you write these poems, you find out that it's not just about you, and not just it's not just about you, but all of these things are happening. It's not just to you. So you're not alone and they're not alone.
Yeah. And that community is so important. And I try to do a lot as much as I can for the community when I can. They, you know, pretty much all of the foundations know if they're like, Shanelle, can you do this? I'm like, yes. You know, I don't hesitate, you know, or anybody in the community is like, yo, I'm doing this little, you know, this small event. Got you what you need. Like, I'm always going to try to support, because I just know that how important poetry, all communities are to us and to our existence. So it means something.
Yes. I share on that. So tell us, moving on to another platform, what is Urban Word NYC? We don't know what that is. I'm in the DMV. What is that, child? Tell us.
So Urban Word NYC, it's just Urban Word right now. It's a youth organization that believes poetry, hip hop, the arts we just try to champion youth voice using poetry, the arts, youth development, youth leadership opportunities, performance opportunities, just giving young people platforms, as well as space, like a safe space to be able to process who they are, process, you know, the world around them, advocate for things that they're passionate about, and validate and feel validated in their voice and the things that they have to say. We want young people to feel welcomed in all of our spaces, because their voices are these young people different, okay? they know so much more than I remember knowing at their age. They're so much more aware. They're so much more activated, you know, and it's just, it means a lot to have spaces where they know that they're encouraged to be themselves, and in a world that frequently shuts their voice down, shuts their experiences down, and that's a big part of what Urban Word is. We have free workshops right now. Most of our programming is still virtual, so we have a weekly open mic every Tuesday. That's virtual. So wherever you are watching this, if you have a young person between the ages of 13 and 19, feel free to go to urbanwordnyc.org. Word is in WORD, not world. Just check it out. We also do Creatively College Bound. That's a program in the fall that helps support young people in applying to college, but using their love of the arts, using their passion for writing to help them craft college essays, help them apply for scholarships, get support them in furthering their education. We also are the founding organization that created the National Youth Poet Laureate program. So that person, y'all might have heard of Amanda Gorman. We named her the National Youth Poet Laureate in 2017. Wow. Yeah. So since her, there have been four other National Youth Poet Laureates, and there's right now the current one is Alexandria, and she's based out of Sacramento. So it's a great organization. I believe I don't work anywhere I don't believe in. I dip. I will dip.
Right.
So
right now you're directing everything. That's your role, to be the director of everything.
It sounds cooler than it is. I love what I do. I love the orchestration of creating things. I used to love the direct service, and I still try to jump in and make sure that all young people know who I am and know that they got an adult in their corner if they need anything. But I do love the let me try to make this program happen, and then all these young people get this opportunity and get these free things, and how do we make those moments dynamic? That means a lot to us. So we selected Urban Word Slam team, the New York City representatives, and that was last year. That was a dope opportunity for the young people too.
Yes, you're doing it all.
I don't know how not to.
You're amazing, doing amazing things.
I'm just gonna use me, y'all. Just using what he gave me.
Yes, using it well. So you don't have to worry about your fear then, because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Thank you.
Do you have a historical figure that you identify with?
Never thought about it that way. I'm like, who I admire, but who I identify with. Historical. Dang, they was doing some problematic stuff, so I can't even say their name right now. I would say Felicia Rashad, but she done sat here and tried to justify that. I was like, ooh, shut up.
Let it be Felicia, because you know why? It's one thing. It's one thing. She did one thing. What about all the other things?
No, it's hard to do that. Sometimes you're right. We shouldn't throw people all the way away sometimes, but it's just hard when it's like people double down and it's like, bruh, I don't know. But I'll say that was who I always looked up to, not because she was, Claire Huxtable, but there was always this like poise about her in all of the spaces she's been in. Just like you can see that she don't play games, but you also can see that she play games. Like she seemed like somebody that loves a good joke, but be like, hold up. That maternal like spirit behind her. She's also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and that was a big deal for me. And so those are things that I really admire.
We're gonna take her. Yes, that's awesome. Tell the people, how can we support you?
First things first, I think support is just being in community with me. So it's follow me on Instagram, follow me on, I have a Facebook group called Friends of Shanelle Gabrielle. I could not do fans. That's weird. Everybody my friend. I'd be like, you're my friend. That's my friend. That's my friend I met that one time. So on facebook.com/Friends of Shanelle Gabrielle. If you go on my website, there's a mailing list that you can reach out to me at. if you have an opportunity, you're like, hey, Shanelle, can you perform here? I mean, I do try to charge, I do pay, got to pay the bills.
Right.
But, just in general, just love being thought of and supported. So feel free to go on my page on social media. Like I said, at Shanelle Gabrielle. It should be scrolling down below you. Just follow me on those platforms and share my work with your friends and family. Like that means a lot to me to have, and it's not about followers or clout. It's really just, I just want people to be able to hear what I do. That's kind of my space right now.
Yes, Ashe. So speaking of what you do, I'm going to ask you to read us another piece. I'm going to come back with one more question, and perhaps my co-host may have questions, and we're going to see if we have some questions in the chat for you. So I'm going to give you the whole screen so you can do your thing.
Okay, I'll share this poem. Aim high, shoot far, aim for the moon. If you miss, you'll hit a star. And it's easier to want things than to get them. Most people have dreams, but they never manifest them. Pressure makes diamonds. You have to mind if you want to come out shining, and dreams mean nothing if they leave when eyelids flutter open. Empires were built from just wishing and hoping. See, doors won't always open. Opportunities may pass, ships may sail, but you have control of the mast, and this is your sea. This is your sky. It's your destiny. Let no one break your concentration. If they got that tunnel vision, let them stay in their mental train stations, because success, see, it's a journey. It's not a destination. You need to have that patience, that drive to make your passions come alive, and you alone can decide how far you will go, and God gave you his divine ability. Believe and speak it into being. See before actually seeing. Give your life meaning as you attain what you envision. Keep on dreaming. Don't ever let it die. Don't be the eagle that never knew he could fly. As you attain what you envision, keep on dreaming. Don't ever let it die. Don't be the eagle that never knew he could fly. And I apologize for making it sound painless. See, it's a long process, I must confess, and you don't know what faith is. You give something your all without a sign of the next step, the next nap, the next check, the next meal, no indication of a record deal. See, I know how it feels to struggle, life's troubles, feeling stuck, feel like a Mini Cooper up against an armored truck. When problems pile in your life, it makes it easier to climb, because when you conquer them, you'll be standing high. See, I know so many people that failed because they failed to realize how close they were to success when they decided to no longer try. See, our ancestors died, and many of our parents gave their lives to make sure we had the means to become anything we dared to dream. Nothing worth having comes easy. That's why the road to the top can be so lonely, but see, it's only temporary. They say success is never ending, failure, it's never final. You've got something inside you that's special. Don't ever let it die. Don't be the eagle that never knew that he could fly. I'ma switch it up, y'all. Aim high. You shoot far, aim for the moon. If you miss, you'll hit a star. Aim high, then you shoot far. Just aim for the moon. If you miss, you'll hit a star. But if you ain't moving mountains, you better kick rocks. Rocking from the south to the Brooklyn blocks. Astronomical track, I got it locked. If you ain't in this constellation, no conversation. My head's a little puffy, can't lock up my shine. Can't deny what I do is simply divine, and I'm about my business. You can't compete. Even my teeth have my work ethic. They grind in my sleep. I'm a flawed individual, flesh battling, spiritual, trying to speak miracles with limited funds. Work until the moon becomes the sun. Building like a carpenter, we've only just begun. Yo, record label said I wasn't cute enough. My national success wasn't proof enough, so they signed a model girl, and wouldn't you know, she got knocked up and called off for all the shows. It's hard to see folk with less talent than you making bigger moves with a massive crew, but this ain't show and tell, this is show and prove. I'm proof. Nothing's ever handed to you. Been missing birthdays and family events because your out of town show got to pay your rent before you got a check. It's already spent. My lupus flared up. My mom's a cancer patient. Rest in peace. She was a cancer patient. Bad things happen. That's how it works out. But applause is the closest thing I got to a handout. It's about putting fate into your own hands. Man, I'm trying to put fate into my own hands. Manifesting God's plan so I aim high and then you shoot far. Just aim for the moon. If you miss, you'll hit a star. Aim high, then you shoot far. Just aim for the moon. If you miss, you'll hit a star. Thank you for allowing me to share that poem with you.
Yes. The one thing that I love about that piece is that it encompasses all of your talents. So you be rapping, singing, doing poems, all of you like take that, and then aim high. Do that for yourself. So I'm going to join my other co-hostesses. Damn, are y'all ready? Hey, boo!
Hey, I'm home.
Yes. I had to unmute myself.
Yes.
Hey, welcome, Shanelle. I'm very happy to meet you this evening. You are amazing. I had a really good time going through your website to set up ours this week.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
One of the questions I ask in my interview is about your perfect concert. Madison Square Garden is set up for you. You can have 3 acts there, living or dead. Who would you want to be there?
Stevie Wonder. Mm-hmm. He gotta be there, and we gotta do a duet or something. I don't know. We gonna do something together. We gonna play some instrument because he played like 8 billion of them. And what else would I have? That's such a hard question. I would have Nina Simone. I would have. There's one more person. It's on the tip of my tongue, and I'm trying to figure out who it would be. Richard Smallwood, one of my favorite gospel artists, like ever. Like he is part of why I love classical music. I hear all of the instruments when I listen to music, and that's a big part of like who he was as a composer and songwriter. I always say that people know Total Praise. Amen. That's Richard Smallwood's original song. Total Praise. So he was the one that everybody, Beyonce done did that. No, don't do all that. Original Total Praise. So yes.
And what stage would you like to perform on? Like if there's like a festival or like a particular stage that you would like to sell out and just be a part of?
Festival. I love Afro punk as much as crowded as it is as an attendee, because it's just so black, and it just feels good. It'd be either that. I would say that is the more. I think there's a lot of fanfare around Essence Festival. That might be a really good one. But I always think of just like, I guess that's where I'd be.
That's all right. It's just questions, and as you said earlier,
I love it.
Speaking it into existence. That's how you do.
Right.
And finally, I want to thank you for reminding everyone that writes and speaks and puts their work out there that we don't know who we're touching in that moment when we speak on anything. There's Ken Brown. He goes by Analysis. He has a poem about the military industrial complex and about PTSD. And he's had service members come up to him and just thank him for that piece because of what it means to them to hear somebody outside of the military talk about those.
We watched that the other night. We watched that play out the other night at KaNikki's event. There's a young lady that came through that has lupus also, and did a poem about how she has brain fog and why she was using her phone to read. And I watched people walk up on the back end of that and say the same thing. So you're right. You don't know who you're touching.
Yeah.
It's so true. Thank you.
I'm trying to think. All I ever ask is the very last question. So
I got a question. I got a question before that.
I'm trying to leave room for
right.
Yes, I got one more question before that. I always ask everybody to shout out the person, the venue, the host, whoever, give us three. A person, a VU, a hostess, an organization, somebody who has featured you well. Who was
Who featured you well?
who was whatever your well is. You know, they had your water, they had your stuff together. Who, you know, brought you in, you know what I'm saying, and treated you so well that you just gotta shout them out.
Okay.
I would start with when I was in Montana. That's where I had the blood clot in my lung. And they took such good care of me. Part of why I was there early was they wanted me to see Montana, and I got to go out and see how beautiful that, you know, people were like, "What you doing in Montana? They ain't got Black people there." I just had such a good amount of fun. I had so much fun. That's my other family across the way, I call it. I always say if the zombie apocalypse hits, that's where I'm going. I feel like we'd be all right in the mountains in Montana. We'll figure it out. But they were just so welcoming, and even in the hospital, you know, my family weren't going to be able to fly over and for it, so I was pretty much by myself. They came and checked on me. They gave me a teddy bear. They gave me a little gift basket, and that was hosted by the United Methodist Church out there. And the sister paid me anyway. That was the thing. She was like, maybe, you know, I was well enough to be able to. I was like, I want to at least be able to come and see the people. You know, I'm once I leave the hospital, I was like, I'm not gonna be able to perform the full like way I would. But I would like to at least the last day be able to like be there, you know, because you had me come out here. But the fact that she paid me still, even though I didn't do the full contract, you know, that meant so much to me, and helped me so much then. I don't think they know how much that helped, and how much it meant to me that they did that. That's one. Two would be UNC Pembroke. That used to be one of my favorite colleges to go to. It was so Black, and they always treated me so well, and I always felt like it was family, and I did it more than once. And last but not least, I always think I have to go with my first home, the New York and Poets Cafe. That's home. You know, it always felt like out of all the venues in New York City, that was like that. And thinking of like their host of the Friday Night Slam, that was Nathan P. That was Mahogany L. Brown. You know, those are just two people that while being there, you just connect. Like you can't say that you a New York poet and you never performed there. Like that's a part of that legacy and history. So I will say that those are the places that I want to shout out. There's more, but
you did so well with that. You did so well. I gotta applaud that. I
think that's the most thorough response we've had to that question in particular. Usually, like somebody will come up with one really good one.
Yeah, no. I mean, I've had others where they've like, you know, flown me. I did oh shoot, how did I do that? Fast Company magazine flew me out to Italy at the Gucci hub. So I got to meet the CEO of Gucci, and he was like, "Oh, I love your poem. How you said?" I'm like, "The CEO of Gucci is quoting my poems. Like, this is dope. Put me on a shirt though. Yeah, that was a really good time too, because they rolled out the stops, and it was a really good gig where I got to create poems inspired by the panels at this Innovation Science Festival. So I'm literally listening to panels talking about AI and healthcare and social media, and having to create poems on the spot that I would do. I'd get like 20 minutes to polish it up, and I'd have to perform it. That was like the biggest poetic muscle flex I'd ever done.
That sounds crazy.
That sounds like a nightmare for me.
And they're like, "Wait, you really just wrote this?" I was like, "Uh-huh." It was fun. They treated me well.
I say that sounds like a nightmare, and I'm running the streets with a poem I wrote one morning while I was washing dishes. It was on Juneteenth. I'm washing dishes. I got a show at noon. I wrote the poem. I wrote the poem, and I went, I think I'm doing this afternoon. and that's the poem I'm running the streets with right now.
I must say it's not less crazy. I think we've all had that. I did one for what is it? Oh, I had to be on a retrospective panel for a show that I used to do, and they wanted me to write a tribute poem. Yeah, that got done about, I don't know, 15 minutes before airtime.
That's a
Yeah,
lot.
retrospective, like writing on the spot is a skill set.
Mhm.
A skill set. Having to do several of those, oh, I don't know. That it doesn't make it less crazy, but
Mhm.
I applaud you for being able to pull that off.
Thank you.
All right. Just a quick note. I mentioned Analysis, who is in our chat right now under his government name, Ken Brown. He wanted to say high five to Urban Word using poetry to support college-bound programs. For most of the 90s, I worked with College Bound Foundation in Baltimore, though long before I was a poet.
Dope. That's great.
He further goes on to ask, he's like, indeed, regarding my piece recruitment, thanks you for mentioning that, Sherry. Hello, Shanelle. We met at Warm Wednesdays in Baltimore years ago.
Warm Wednesdays. Oof. Yeah.
Oh, yes. And he wanted me to make sure I put in the Richard Smallwood, HU, you know. Oh, that's right. I forgot something I got to do. That reminds me of something I got to do.
Like when he's giving you reminders.
Yeah, he said when he reminds me of stuff. It happens. It's all about balance. How have you been able to what have you did during the start of the quarantine when everything went crazy? I was really asking this question and I need to get back to it. How were you practicing self-care during the shutdown and the stay-at-home orders?
I did yoga every day.
Mm-hmm.
I started a meditative practice, meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mentioned, journaling. I would journal and then write poems inspired by the journaling. Mm-hmm. It was a very welcome reset. I am still struggling to bring back that self-care and keep it going because definitely the world opened up and we're all staying busy and focused. But it's definitely really important to me to be active and be able to, I worked out in my house. I'm a physical person. Mm-hmm. And if I don't do that release, it pents up and it doesn't feel good. I always say for me and my lupus, achy joints make me achier. Like non-moving joints make me achier. So I have to keep active. I have to keep working out. I have to keep my weight, to what's healthy for me. And that's just like what I have to do. So all of those things, I was definitely getting my little workout on outside. This is the room actually that I was in during quarantine. I came to Atlanta and stayed here for two and a half months during quarantine because New York is not the place to want to try to avoid people. So I came out here, I was with my sister here in Atlanta, and I spent a lot of time in this room looking out the window like, wow, are we in a sci-fi movie? Is this real? But yeah, just that, those moments of like taking breaths and taking space and enjoying nature is so helpful.
I completely get that.
Thank you.
So it seems we are ready for the last question, Ms. Girl Genius.
I don't know how I ever got drafted to do this last question, but it's become.
I do it sometimes when you're hosting.
You do.
I do.
But I do like this question because I do like this question. It's not an easy one, but I look forward to the answers. Here you go. So now that you have been on the show, and let me just kind of run back the topic. So you of course have been with KaNikki on Poets and Platforms. Mine is Let's Talk About the Book. Sherry's is From Behind the Microphone, which is a from behind the actor studio type interview. And Charity's is Art Plus Therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So now that you've been on the show, the question is, who do you think would make a great guest on this show?
Who do I think would make a great guest on this show? I think there's a few people I could think of. Lyrical Faith. That's my sister. That's my little sis. I think she'd be great. I think she's super passionate. She reminds me so much of me. I really be like, yo, you just she just got a light in her. She just means so well, and she just really cares about community, and she's dope, and she's grown as a writer. I watched her grow as a writer and a performer, and I'm so proud of her. So I think, Lyrical Faith would be great, to be honest.
She's absolutely, I love her. She's awesome.
She's so talented, such a sweetheart. Yeah, that's who I'm nominating. I have more I can nominate, but that's who came to mind first.
I was about to say, throw some names out. So the backstory here is I say this every week. We have a running list. We have a running list, and the list is the list, and then there's a side list called a fight list, which is all of us want this one person, and if we can fit him in on a 5th-week round table when we have one, great. And if not, we just kind of duke it out to see who gets what.
Or we just scoop everybody and don't tell them until it's time, until we come.
That part. So I got we've been fighting over there for a while. Too late. I already got him. We do a lot of that.
Yes. So tell us more. We definitely
open the list.
More thinking of which of my women and my femme poets. Cameron Bruno, who was she was a 2019 New York City Youth Poet Laureate, but she's another beast, another really amazing writer. Trying to think who else. Plus, I know I'm also thinking like who's available. Knowing my friend's schedules love her to death, I'm thinking like who I know is like probably more accessible. I'll leave it with those two. I think those two are like my babes. I think that those are the two people I think are will be really great here and just have they're both I guess they're not that young, but they both have just done so much and been around so much of the space and understand and in so many different spaces. Cameron's born in Queens and raised in Trinidad and Tobago and did a whole lot of work around poetry and writing out there. Came through, as a young person, worked with Urban Word and just did so much great stuff as a Youth Poet Laureate. And then post that, she's teaching, she did a TEDx, like she's just great. And so I think of her, I think of Lyrical. Those are two people I've been pushing into y'all's queue.
I'm definitely down to add them to the list.
Yes, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. And everyone, thank you for tuning in. I apologize for my tardiness this evening. I thought I was going to make it back in time, but I did not. We will be back next week.
What week is it? Lord,
it is actually Girl Geniuses Week. Actually, first thing I want to say is follow us on social media. Because we know everybody that is featuring in August, we will have our special guest sneak peek video coming out this week. Yes, we will have that. So it will be coming out this week. So follow us at Keep the Mic on all social media, and you'll see everybody who is coming in August.
But do we want to drop? Do we want to drop the things?
No, we can drop all things. We can drop all the things.
We can drop all the names.
Go ahead. You start. You're next week.
Okay, so next week is going to be a little special. If you've been following us on social media, or you have subscribed to the site, you will probably get an email because we kind of have to work a little schedule out about this. The show will air when it's supposed to, but to do the Q&A portion, we're going to have to backtrack a little bit. So next week I will have Breeze.
National Poetry Slam champion Breeze.
Yeah, next week.
Did I know? I didn't know this.
She booked at your event on Friday.
Next week, yes.
Okay.
I happen to know that for Art Therapy on August 8th, the charity will be interviewing LP.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yes.
The LP interview is back on for this month. Yes.
It's back on for this month. For From Behind the Microphone, which is my segment, technically this will be our first repeat person who we should also send a big, huge congratulations to. We will have Vision, the poet and creator of Trash to Peace Theater, again back in August.
Yeah.
When we had him the first time, it was a Zoom, and the only people that saw that interview were the people that were in the room. So we wanted to bring it back. Right. We didn't record it, nothing. It just exists in our memories. But we wanted to bring him back since we've changed platforms. He is a part of a film festival with Trashterpiece Theater that is around August 4th to the 8th. So we want to congratulate him for having that being added. The Trashterpiece Theater. Follow it on YouTube, y'all. It is the best comedy you will have.
I watch it in bed. Listen, I watch it in bed before I get ready to go to sleep. Or after we get off of this, every Sunday we get off of this.
If you've not seen it, I still say Britney Spears is my favorite. The Britney Spears
that one is so hysterical.
Favorite. But if you've never seen it, you need to. It's hysterical.
Yeah, so follow Vision Poet, and his series is called Trashterpiece Theater, and he has I think about 20 or 30 videos out there of just retelling his stories of his of checkered youth. KaNikki?
And I have Nina Bruton out of the 757 area. Yes. I can't wait to have her on. She is amazing. She presents a series called We Be the Light. So I'm looking forward to having her as well.
And August, we get a 5th week. We get a 5th Sunday. So we get a round table. And I think this one was definitely probably one of the first. We always, whenever the name comes out of our mouth, we're all like, yep, that one. This one, I think I got the first letter out and everybody was like, yeah, that one. So we will have the honor and the privilege of interviewing our friend, longtime poetry supporter from Baltimore, now residing in California. We will be interviewing Love, the poet, and we cannot wait to see them next month.
Yep, that's our 5th week.
That is our 5th week. Also, stay tuned. We also have Brandon Leaks from America's Got Talent in the coming months.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I dropped that in the group. Yes, I booked Brandon. Yes, Brandon Leaks will be here in a few months. So definitely keep track of this website. Keep track of us. Again, we are available on all platforms at Keep the Mic On. We will all see you back again here next week, 7 p.m. Thank you, Shanelle, again. And everyone, please stay safe. Wash your hands still. We ain't out the pandemic yet. We will talk to y'all soon. Bye.
How they do?